So, how would you answer the question, what does love feel like? I'm Leslie Dories, your marriage coach, and I have been doing this work for over 20 years, and rarely do I get stumped by a client. But last week, I was having a conversation with one of my clients, and he said to me in all seriousness, what does love feel like? And I think that's a great question because we have all kinds of love. We use that word a lot. I love ice cream. I love my cat. I love my husband. I love my best friend. I love the movies, right? It's this wonderful word that is very complicated. And there's, like I said, there's different kinds of love. And the kind of love that most of us think about when we're talking about romantic relationships is that falling in love period, that part of our life when we basically lost touch with reality, right? We meet somebody and we find them attractive and interesting, and there's nothing else we can do except think about them. And this is the in love phase. And this is where a lot of people get into trouble, is because they mistake that, which I use that to frame that it's the time to meet, mate, and procreate, right? It's we're physically attracted to somebody, emotionally attracted to somebody. We want to rip their clothes off and have a great time with them. But this is a period of somewhat insanity in our lives. And people think that that's what love really is. And it's kind of a doorway to love. We in romantic relationships, we want to feel that way about our partner, but real love is much more complicated than that. Real love is warmth and safety and being seen and being valued and being heard and seeing and valuing and hearing other people. It is non-transactional. It's not a question of you have to do something or you have to be a certain way for me to love you. Now, this is where it gets a little complicated because in our romantic relationships, we usually start out in that in love phase. And one, we're not prepared for what to do when it starts to fade, because your bodies can only stay in that condition for anywhere from 18 months to 3 years. And then reality starts to set in. I remember when I met my husband, we would be on the phone with each other for a couple of hours every night because we lived in different places. And so there were times when you wouldn't need as much sleep, and everything looked wonderful, and everything was perfect. And then reality starts to creep in, and we're like going, what happened to those wonderful feelings? Well, nothing happened to them. They're designed to be short term. But in our wonderful world, we hang our hats on that. We think that's the be all and end all. And so when my client asked me this question, one, I felt very honored that he trusted me with this question. And two, what an incredibly vulnerable thing to share. Now, our first experiences of love are when we're infants and we're brought into the world and we are completely dependent on our parents. And the idea that our needs are taken care of, that somebody is paying attention to us, that we feel safe and we feel connected. Love is really about connection, which is why we can feel romantic love, platonic love, all different kinds of love. It's really about feeling connected to another human being. And, like I said, you should feel warm. You should feel safe. You should feel seen. You should feel accepted, right? There's this concept of unconditional love, which is a great ideal, and rarely does it exist in reality, because we put conditions on it, because we're trying to protect ourselves. And and it's possible that when we are working or living or interacting with somebody, that something about them, something we learn about them, changes the way we feel about them. That's perfectly legitimate. But when we love somebody, it's about being open and curious about their experiences and wanting to know more about them. That's what real intimacy is. Into me you see, right? This and so a lot of times we just don't even think about what love is. And so that's my challenge to you today is to think about it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you think love is. How does love feel to you? How do you want other people that you love to receive your love? These are big questions that we don't really spend a whole lot of time thinking about. And so I would love to hear that. I would love to hear your responses. So please feel free to DM me. If you find this helpful, I would love you to subscribe to the channel. And until next week, stay loving.